Just wanted to let you know we are recording it, and you ready to go? Sure. Good evening, everyone. Today is February 19th, 2025. It's a couple minutes after 7 p.m. My name is Chuck McLean. I'm the Chief Public Utility Law Judge at the Maryland Public Service Commission in Baltimore. We're at the Galena Elementary School in Galena, Maryland, conducting a public hearing in case number 9742, which is captioned TPE MD KE 51 LLC's application for a certificate of public convenience and necessity to construct a 5-megawatt solar photovoltaic generating facility in Kent County, Maryland. The purpose of this evening's hearing is to provide the public an overview of the project, allow the parties to provide their positions and recommendations on the project, and give the public an opportunity to comment on the project. In addition to this evening's hearing, you may also file written comments through the Commission's website, which can be accessed through at www.psc.state.md.us. And instructions for logging into the public comment system are located under the Tools section of the Commission's website under the Make a Public Comment tab. You may also file written comments by sending them directly to the Commission, and that's the address is the Maryland Public Service Commission. Attention Jamie Bergen, Chief Clerk, 6 St. Paul Street, 16th floor, Baltimore, Maryland 21202. And if you're going to do it that way, please ensure you reference case number 9742 so your comments make it to the correct file. And please note the deadline for filing comments is February 27th, 2025. And if anyone needs that information or you help with getting onto the website, I'm happy to show you everyone after the hearing. All the documents that have been filed in this case thus far are also available on the Commission's website by clicking on the case mail log portal and typing in case number 9742 into the search tab. Copies of the application are also available at the county's Department of Planning and Zoning, 400 High Street, Chestertown, Maryland, and as well as the town of Millington's town office located at 402 Cypress Street in Millington. In terms of where this case sits procedurally, there have been several rounds of testimony filed by the applicant, the Power Plant Research Program, the Commission staff, and the county. In terms of what happens next, on February 28th, 2025, the parties will advise me if there's been a settlement, and evidentiary hearings are currently set for March 5th and 6th, 2025. What we're going to do is we're going to have the applicant give a overview of the project, then we're going to have each party come up, introduce themselves, and provide their positions and any recommendations they have on the project, and then we'll open it up for public comment. In the event you have questions, I, as well as hopefully some of the parties, will be jotting those down, and they'll address those after everyone's had an opportunity to make a comment, okay? And in the event you've got more comments based on those answers, we'll let you come back up and have a second bite at the apple. All right? With that, Ms. Witherup?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Maggie Witherup. I'm regulatory counsel for the applicant TPE Solar, and I'm going to turn it over to Franny Uhas, who is the project manager for this project.
Thank you. Well, thank you everyone for coming to learn more about our community solar project planned for Millington. It will be at currently planned for Peacock Road at the intersection of Peacock Road and Cypress Road in Millington. And I really do want to thank Mr. Bill Mackey and Mark Harper and the staff with Kent County. They've been very patient with me in learning their major site plan review process and going, what is required to go through the permitting process in Kent County. I'm a lifelong Maryland resident, and a little bit about Turning Point Energy. We are a community solar developer. We've developed 5 gigawatts of projects over the past, 10 years or so across the country. But most recently here in Maryland, we have 10 community solar projects in operation, which totals about 27, a little over 27 megawatts in Maryland under Maryland's Community Solar Pilot Program. And I guess we really, I appreciate working for Turning Point and our partners like Kimley Horn, Heather, and Chris that are here with me, to really situate projects for a particular site that are good sites for a particular situation. And many people ask, well, how is community solar different than just a regular utility scale solar project? We really do believe that community solar supports Maryland's has very ambitious renewable portfolio standard and renewable energy goals in getting 14.5% of their energy from solar generated energy by 2030. And we really do, community solar helps support that. And it really enables those that aren't able to put solar on their own rooftops to participate in clean energy. The benefits also to the county is the tax revenue that they can use for their infrastructure or other projects and initiatives that they have going on, as well as electricity savings off of DPL's retail residential rates if a resident chooses to subscribe to community solar. And we really do believe that solar is a quiet and congenial neighbor. I live next to a solar array, and it really just sits there. It's quiet. There's no noise, minimal noise, no emissions, no light pollution, and it's very quiet neighbor, and it will be screened by the landscaping required by the landscape manual as dictated in the Kent County ordinance. So, as I described, we have projects that are operational in Maryland already, and we do take seriously the community engagement aspect with our projects, as evidenced by, you can visit our website, and I'm happy to give you my card before I leave, so that you can access that to see what we have done in terms of community investment for all of our projects related to community solar, and just the benefits that the school children have. I think it's interesting that we're here at the Galena Elementary School here. The picture that you see here is a picture of one of our projects in Garrett County. The middle school children had a field day to learn about solar and to learn about the project. And one of the things I just get goosebumps every time. One of the teachers told me, she said, Franny, that one of the children said just when they got home, they just said it was the best day ever because they got to learn about it, and just trying to bring up the STEM, the science and technology, and the mathematics of the school's curriculum. It was something that they could incorporate into their science classes. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Heather, that she's going to bring up the site plan and kind of give you an overview of the project and the technical aspects.
Good evening, everyone. As Franny mentioned, my name is Heather Hutton with Kimley Horn. We have been supporting Turning Point on a lot of the due diligence, the environmental review document that went into preparing application, and the site plan that you see here on the screen today. So just wanted to take a minute to give an overview of the site and familiarize you with the site. It is on the screen here and on the board over on the rocking chair. We do have a handful of smaller scale copies that we can distribute as needed. We want to be able to be engaged on this together. So if we need to distribute those, we certainly can. Maggie has them if you want to raise your hand if you need one. I'll wait a minute for that so that you can follow along with me. So while those are being distributed, just to give you background on myself, again, with Kimley Horn, we're consulting on primarily civil engineering and permitting throughout the state of Maryland. I am a licensed professional civil engineer with the state of Maryland. So I'll go ahead and give you an update or a summary of the site plan here. So the entrance will be located off of Peacock Corner Road towards the northern portion of this site. The parcel itself is bisected by Peacock Corner Road, The project will be limited to the triangular portion of the parcel that's south of Peacock Corner Road. So the entrance will come off of Peacock Corner Road. It'll go into the project through a landscape buffer and site security fence that's required by the National Electrical Codes. There will be equipment pads limited to the front entrance area. The overall limits of disturbance of the project, you can see that bounds the solar array, fence line, and landscape buffer is approximately 40 acres of the overall parcel. The project will be encompassed by a 50-foot landscape buffer. The landscape buffer is shown along the easternmost property line as well as along Peacock Corner Road at the request of the county. That has also been extended along the southern portion of the road, even though there is existing vegetation there and wood line. The landscaping planting will be subjected to a performance bond and agreement upon planting to ensure the survivability of that planted landscape material for the code requirements. The site has been reviewed through the development of the environmental review document by both Department of Natural Resources and Maryland Historic Trust. And we have letters of their entities supporting the site. There is, as you can see in the southwest corner of this site, a potential burial ground that exists that was discovered through the Phase 1 environmental site assessment. That's been reviewed by both the local historic agencies as well as Maryland Historic Trust. Limited documentation is available, but through discussions with the landowner, we understand that there's not been any visitations to the site in many years. Although with the conversations with the county, we have proposed a path be provided from the public right-of-way to that burial ground area in the event that visitation was needed, which we foresee as being likely right now at this time based on the landowner's feedback. The project adheres to the setbacks required by the county code, which is a 200-foot setback along the right-of-way. On the eastern portion of the site, there is a 100-foot setback, as we have a letter of support from the adjoining landowners to reduce that setback from 200 feet to 100 feet. That is also outlined in the county code and following that protocol. The project in its civil engineering design will be subject to stormwater management requirements set forth by Maryland Department of the Environment, specifically following their guidance and protocol for development and design of solar-related installations specifically. During construction, the project will be required to adhere to the state's soil erosion sediment control requirements, which are also set forth by Maryland Department of the Environment for things like dust control and pollution prevention of runoff. There's also been a wetland, stream, and forestry delineation completed on site. That's also been reviewed by Maryland Department of the Environment through a joint site walk with them. The delineated features are all along the southernmost portion of the site. They're printed in green on your materials in front of you. You can see that the project is avoiding all of the environmental delineated areas as well. That is a high-level overview that I wanted to go through, and of course happy to answer any questions regarding the site plan as they come up at the end of the testimony from the public.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Rogers, I'll get you to talk to the mic maybe.
Does this work if I kind of face both ways?
That's
I
fine.
feel weird.
No, it's not
Facing
the,
back to anyone. So I'm Judy Rogers with the Power Plant Research Program, and we're part of the Department of Natural Resources. We perform an independent assessment of the project and coordinate the response to the project with 7 reviewing state agencies. We submit a project assessment report and recommended licensing conditions that then the Public Service Commission adopts. We filed a testimony for the project on January 9th, 2024. And we are recommending approval for this project based on the Public Service Commission adopting our conditions. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
thank you, Ms. Rogers. Mr. Miller?
Good evening, I'm Brock Miller from the Maryland Office of People's Counsel. The Office of People's Counsel is an independent state agency that represents the interests of Maryland residential ratepayers as a class and proceeding before the Public Service Commission. We haven't filed anything in this case. We've reviewed all the documents and testimony filed by other parties. We currently don't oppose the project with the recommended conditions from TDRP and commission staff. And we're here tonight to hear any comments that the public might have, so we can take them into consideration as we develop our final recommendations on the project.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Shear?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Harrison Scher. I represent the commission's technical staff in this matter. It's commission staff's role in these proceedings to evaluate the project for its impact on the reliability and stability to the electric distribution grid. Staff has filed testimony on January 9th, recommending that the application be approved for this project, subject to any other conditions recommended by state agencies having jurisdiction in this project. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Yeager?
Thank you. Thomas Yeager, County Attorney for Kent County, and with me is Carla Gerber, our Deputy Planning Director. The county has concerns that this project is not in conformity with the county zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan. So for that reason, we have stated our opposition to it as it's currently proposed. And the basis for this is set forth in the written testimony of Planning Director William Mackey, which was filed in January. And Mrs. Gerber is here to briefly summarize Mr. Mackey's testimony for the record here today.
Ma'am, it might be better if you stood on this side, at least then the camera's getting you, so.
Okay, I can do that.
I just thought about that.
So I'm here to summarize Mr. Mackey's testimony, which was submitted back in January, where the county has found that the application was not consistent with the comprehensive plan, and that much of the comprehensive plan recognizes that this particular area is part of the priority preservation area, which seeks to preserve agriculture as the focus of long-term efforts and investments. The county does allow utility scale solar in the agricultural zoning district, but it's limited to 5 acres, and so for that reason, we found the application to be inconsistent with our land use ordinance because it exceeds that area, and they did not apply for the special exception. I think that pretty much summarizes what our position was.
Thank you very much, ma'am. All right, and with that, I'll start calling some folks up. Ms. Lewis? And when you come up, if you could just state your name and spell it so the court reporter gets it correctly.
Janet Lewis, JanetLewis, and I'm a resident of Millington. And I think I'm here to wonder why we're even having these meetings, because the PSC will approve this project. It won't matter that it doesn't comply with our comprehensive plan, nor does it comply with our Kent County zoning. The PSC is on a mission to put forth the stated goal of Maryland, and if it's on agricultural land, they don't care. We see that our agricultural land is being taken away with large cuts, but also with little sliver cuts like this, one lot at a time. If you look at the projects that are these community solars for 1 to 5 megawatts that are coming all through our farming communities, they're always on agricultural land for the most part, and they're always in areas that the counties don't want them. We don't want this project here. We have areas where projects can go, and they choose not to, because this is cheaper and more convenient for them to do. But that won't make any difference. I mean, we've been before the PSC numerous times with full bore, and we still get these projects. So, I mean, this is sort of theater here today, basically. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Durham?
Good evening, I'm James R. Durham III, otherwise known as Dick Durham. I'm a jazz pianist and a certified solar thermal engineer.
Sir, can I just get you to spell your name, please, for the record?
Durham, as in bull, D-U-R-H-A-M. Right there. And I'm not directing any animosity at any of you good people or anything else. I just state what I have found in my research. The problems that I have with solar farms that are detailed primarily in Forbes magazine, Bell Labs, and the American Society of Heating, Air Conditioning Engineers, ASHRAE, are as follows. The solar panels contain a lot of toxins. Now they've gotten better, they're still working on that. They contain lead, cadmium telluride, plastics, and more. Cadmium, even though it's bonded in the PN layer with telluride in a thin film solar, will still have some radioactive isotopes in it. And this can leach out as they age or if they're damaged. They also make these solar panels almost totally non-recyclable unless you have a special toxic amelioration plant which costs about 8 times to disassemble one solar panel, 8 times what they would cost originally, which is a lot. The glass covers can't be recycled as float glass due to these impurities. So the vast majority are going to landfills. The International Renewable Energy Agency, also known as IRENA, reported there were 250,000 tons of this waste in landfills around the world in 2016, and are projected to be 80 million tons by the year 2050. And they can end up doing pretty bad things to the ground, to the groundwater, and everything else. The utilities have problems with what is called nonlinear ferroresonance, which is backfeed and interruption with clouds, overvoltage, overcurrent, surges. And so they spend a lot of money on uploaded transformers, substations, delivery grids, voltage balancing, capacitors, and all that stuff. And solar panels are obviously non-productive at night, but that's not neither here nor there. But things do happen with weather, like the tornado that destroyed 200,000 solar modules in California in 2015, and a multi-million-dollar damage to a hailstorm in Texas not too long ago, and many more. And as our global weather patterns change, these are going to become more of a concern. The lifespan of these panels, a lot of people in the industry will tell you, oh, they last forever. They don't. They begin to lose efficiency after about 15 years, and they're really pretty much done by 2 decades, 2.5 decades. So is it really worth all the expense and the problems? The output of a utility scale panel is between 1.5 to 2.5 kilowatts. So if you take just 500 households taking, let's say 1.5 20-minute showers a day, you'd be looking at 3,000 kilowatts, or the output from about 1,500 solar panels alone. That's just for 5 houses. And this is not an advertisement because I'm retired, but solar thermal, which is known as domestic hot water, which I've had for 45 years, will heat all your water for about $6,000 for your entire life, 50 or 60 years anyway. They can produce 47,000 BTUs easily in a very short time. So, and if you take a house that has an average of 10 windows and add a third pane of glass or even those inexpensive plastic storm to heat with hairdryer, the savings at ambient temperatures would be about 5,000, almost 6,000 BTUs a day per window, or 50,000 plus BTUs, or 15 kilowatts a day. That's for every single house. And you do it for as many houses as possible, we could cut energy use by 35 to 40% easily. What I used to do for people, and I still do, is I hand out sheets telling people how to reduce your energy. We have a 4,000 square foot all electric house. Our bill is an average $85 a month, including heat, air conditioning, you name it. 3 hi-fis, 4 electric pianos, all that garbage. The last thought, which is not really the purview of this meeting, but I would like to mention that Senate Bill 931, which is bad news, would alter, change, and otherwise add bureaucratic inconvenience to everybody, including the PSC, and also attempt to control how land is used, almost like eminent domain, or even apportioned, negating most of the powers of the county planning and even the right of people to walk on their own land. I would write the congressman and governor and tell them Bill 931 is super bad news. As far as public convenience and necessity, as stated in this bill, I see none of that happening.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gifford?
Hello, my name is Judy Gifford. Gifford is my last name, Judy. I have a dairy farm in Kennedyville, and my farm is 60 acres, which is just a little bit bigger than this community solar, and everybody seems to think these are just postage stamps. But it really, they do add up, and they really make a difference in the amount of land being taken away from agriculture. Several years ago, I put solar panels on my farm. We were part of a community cooperative, and I was convinced to do that back in the heyday when everybody thought solar was gonna save the day. And having learned that it won't save the day, I learned a couple lessons from this project. And although my electric rate is low now, when I first started, it was $12 a month. It got down to almost nothing, and it was supposed to be funded by a grant, which they ran out of money before I got the grant. So we didn't get the savings that we had thought, so we had to pay more out of our own pocket. So originally, we're pretty happy with it, but then the electric company, which doesn't have anything to do with this except to say that there are scams out there where errors are made. And the electric company found out that we were sort of in the middle between residential and community. And so then they had to come in and recalculate our fees, and then they went up quite a bit after they did that. So we didn't even have the savings that we expected. So my point is that a lot of these people that sign up for solar or think they're getting a big benefit from solar don't always get what they're told. And the other thing is, I was told, and I bought into it early on too, that, oh, these solar panels will be recyclable by the time they're ready to be taken down and removed. And of course, as the previous speaker spoke, they still haven't figured out a way to make them recyclable. And I feel bad about that, but at least mine are on the rooftop. And so I could leave them there much longer than if they were on the ground. I have to say that it is a slap in the face when these companies come in and just say they're gonna go where they wanna go. It's not zoned properly for that. They don't even take the effort to ask for an exception. And then knowing their full well that they'll get approval is really kind of just an insult to everybody in the county. I wonder about the jobs that were listed on the slide. I couldn't really see it, but there are no jobs with solar. People come in, you don't know where they're coming from to put them up, and they leave. So there are no jobs, and I don't know what the taxes are. And with reference to 931, SB 931, they are going to limit the taxes that the county can make on these projects, so there won't even be taxes. So, and I don't know what gifts they're gonna give to the community, but it'll be most likely some kind of chunk change. So I'd like to say that I oppose this project, and I think that the rights of the county to zone our land should be respected, and it would be nice if we counted as much as the solar industry. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Anyone else want to make a comment?
I just have my questions.
Yeah, please come on up, sir. Could you just state your name and spell it, please?
My name is Darryl, D-A-R-R-Y-L. Last name is Calloway, C-A-L-L-O-W-A-Y. I just thought maybe you would talk about the owners. I guess it's the William Chance family. I just found that online. I was just curious what their arrangement is. How does that work to just a neighbor who lives nearby? I guess they still own the land, but I just would like somebody to address that if they wouldn't mind. The second thing is, my house is about a half mile from this proposed site on one side, And there's already a much larger solar array project in Queen Anne's County, where I live, less than a mile from my house on the other side. So that puts me directly in between two solar arrays. And neither one of them are finished yet, but the big one in Queen Anne's County, it's mega, and it's almost finished. So I just wanted, I'd love to have somebody address the health concerns that I have. I don't know whether it's microwave, any cancer thing. Anybody who lives near these solar arrays, what happens to them in the long run? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, is there anyone else who wants to make a comment or has a question? Come on up, ma'am.
Well,
Oh.
I'm having a little difficulty with my movement. so-
Okay,
I just have a question that I want to piggyback with Mr. Callaway. Can you guys hear me? Or, I'm Debbie Murray, Still Pond, Maryland. And that was my big question. The person who sold the land, what were they using it for at the time of sale? And then when they sold it, was there some sort of like agreement or what? So that's kind of still in my mind and my big question. And also, somebody else said something about our master plan is only a 1 to 5 acre. So I'm learning a lot and have some questions, and thank you for letting me stand over here and piggyback with Mr. Callaway. 199 acres is what I'm seeing, is that correct?
all right,
That they're looking for a zoning change on, is this right?
40. No,
Oh, it's 40 acres.
41.
41 acres, okay, thank you.
all right, anyone else? Question, comment? All right, I think, can you guys answer some of those? I think I might go to, PPRP, if, to the extent you can answer a health-related question. I know sometimes there's testimony on the electromagnetic fields, but I think the first question was, the arrangement, if any, if you can talk about that with that the owner has with Turning Point. I think that was,
Sure, so, Mr. David Chance is here as a
Sure.
landowner.
sure.
It is a lease arrangement, he is not selling the property, we are just leasing the property from him.
And can you clarify further regarding terms of lease requirements at the end of the project?
So, yes, so the Public Service Commission will require a decommissioning bond, so the project will be decommissioned. And, recycling has actually come a long way, in that there are companies that do recycle the panels, inverters, transformers, and, the like, and they are in business, operational today. And I can share some of that information as follow-up as well, as we have shared with Ms. Rogers in the past as well. And then, of course, there will be a bond, a decommissioning bond posted for the life of the operational life of the project, such that if for some reason the company, the long-term owner of the company was not able to decommission it, that those costs would be covered.
I wasn't sure which part you were asking me about, that's why I made the face when you were talking. It's like, I don't know which one I can answer. We have studies that show that the EMF levels from a solar facility of this size are minimal to none to adjoining properties. They should not be a concern. I know everybody brings them up with power lines and solar, but very, very minimal.
Yes, ma'am,
I'm sorry, I'm Debbie Murray again.
you're fine.
Still Pond. So if it's a lease, does that mean he can still also have land use while the panels are on it? I mean, like, what if you wanted to put up, honeybee hives, which I've seen has been successful in some solar sites, or, some native, plants at some solar, sites. I just am curious, is
So
that,
we are only using a portion, like I said, about 41 acres of the larger parcel. Okay, so he will continue his current farming and agricultural operations on the remaining portion of the property. And there will be, the ground cover will be a pollinator-friendly ground cover that will again, attract bees, birds, small mammals, to allow the biodiversity and ecosystem to be diverse within the panel area.
Who manages that?
The operators of the solar project, so the company TPE will manage that, and it only gets mowed probably twice a year, because the whole point with the pollinators is that you don't want to mow it regularly, because you want them to grow, you want them to seed, you want them to reseed.
They need water.
They do.
Is that in this?
So if there's not enough rain, there will be water. There will be water. Well, they bring water in, but even in Maryland, even during the droughts that we have, they're pretty drought tolerant.
I have to know.
Can I interject something about pollinator species? They actually need less water than turfgrass because they're native and they have much deeper roots and they can access deeper water. They're actually so much better for the environment than planting turfgrass or even corn for that matter.
I understand, I have some, and initially they need water.
Right, and that'll be they submit a grounds management plan and that'll be taken
Oh,
care
I
of.
didn't see that in anything.
Yes, there's a grounds
Yeah,
management.
it's there in the filing that they filed with the Public Service Commission.
Ms. Lewis, did I see your hand up, ma'am?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, I had a question, but it doesn't matter. None of this matters anyway.
All right. Anyone else, sir, did that answer your questions? Sir, do you have any other questions, or did those answers okay?
That's fine,
All right.
thanks.
All right, anyone else have a parting shot?
I do.
Come on up, sir.
Just a quick comment, there are about 160 utility scale power solar fields in this state. Not to mention dozens, maybe hundreds of smaller ones. I know of no one, and I know lots of people, and they know lots of people, whose electric bills have gone down since these were installed. If anything, electric power has gotten more expensive by about 40% in the last 4 years, almost 10% a year. I don't think utilities are happy with the situation. They're not happy with solar fields. And I really question the whole thing of the longevity of these systems. There isn't that much. I mean, I've had pets live longer than that. Of course, they cost more too.
Thank you, Mr. Garvey. All right.
So in response to the question about, rates, so the community solar projects, the subscribers are guaranteed a 5 to 10%, depending on what utility it is, for the life of the subscription. So if they subscribe, so the community solar projects are for 25 years, and they can subscribe for 25 years. And so the savings comes from the individual to the individual subscribers. With regard to overall rates, I mean, solar is in its infancy in terms of contributing to the grid and, putting that energy on the grid. So I don't think you'll see a direct correlation. I mean, rates are up now, but the solar needs to ramp up to get to that point to be beneficial. I mean, it's beneficial now. I mean, I've got solar. So, I mean, I do see the rate savings. But to the subscribers specifically that are subscribing to a community solar project will definitely see that savings as soon as they start subscribing.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else?
I think there's a couple of comments that were mentioned that maybe we haven't addressed yet. Do you want to tee us up on ones individually, or do you just want to?
I know there were some comments, but there were more comments than questions. If you'd like to address them, jobs and the taxes were points that were Ms. Lewis had raised, or Ms. Gifford, I'm sorry, Ms. Gifford had raised.
So,
But you should feel free to hit whatever points
Yep.
you'd
I
like
just
to.
wanted to make sure if
Oh.
this is closing remarks. I
Oh,
wanted
no,
to make
no,
sure
no,
there's a few
no,
more
you're
consistent.
fine. I mean, we're here till they kick us out.
So, yes, with regard to the tax revenue to the county, again, the county will tax the property, is currently being taxed as agricultural property, it will be taxed as commercial property, so that is a higher tax rate, so that is higher tax revenue coming into the county, and we do not dictate, it'll be the county that decides how they use that money for whatever their budget is.
Or if 931 passes, it'll be the state.
All right, thank you.
Damage to the panels, did you want to talk about like operation maintenance?
Yeah, so, right,
The
that-
monitoring.
right, so someone asked about, if panels get damaged, what happens? So I think Ms. Rogers explained, about also the health, benefits, the I wanna be respectful, that we don't consider the panels to be toxic or have toxic elements in it, that are going to be, harmful to the environment. So, there isn't, constant operations and maintenance of the projects, such that if an inverter, is not working or a panel is damaged, it is known immediately, and someone is out there for preventive maintenance, but as well as responsive maintenance to those types of situations to replace panels when they need to be. However, it is often very rare based on our experience. They are, someone mentioned the tornado. Fortunately, we have not had that situation here. But hail, they're fairly resistant to hail and weather events. Again, we've been very fortunate thus far, and we really believe that solar that's part of the benefit to help contribute to the mitigation of the climate changes that we're seeing now.
So if you had this solar project running over the last cloudy 5 days, how much solar what percent of your capacity would you be producing?
A very small amount. Admittedly, it's the sun, they produce most efficiently when the sun is shining.
Peak hours.
All right, thank you.
Peak hours, but it's fine.
4 hours.
No.
And that was commentary from Mackies.
So another, thank you for Heather teeing up the questions that did get asked. So about our community investment. So Turning Point Energy, we contributed over $1.3 million over the last 5 years to the communities with which our projects are delivered, and we've got, I think, a $3 million goal by 2026. With regard to specifics, we really will work with the community. In this particular instance, the planning and zoning suggested the agricultural preservation program so we have committed to a $52,000 donation to the agricultural preservation program in Kent County.
How do you calculate that number? You just make it up, or is it a percentage of something? How do you know with,
The county requested it.
is it that flat fee that the county?
Yes.
Yeah, I think Ms. Gerber could shed some.
I can answer that a little bit. The way we calculated, the suggested donation
Ma'am?
was.
I'm sorry, can you just come a little bit closer?
Yep.
It's just
I understand.
It's,
So the way that the donation amount was calculated was based on how the Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation Foundation calculates the agricultural value within their easement program. They have a formula that looks at the average cash rent in a county and uses a regression analysis based on distance to the Inner Harbor and to the Washington Monument. So there's a formula that is set in state law for determining agricultural value, and that's what we used.
And that was for 40 acres, basically? You calculated that on 40
It calculates a per acre amount, and we multiplied it by what their area of usage is.
thank you, ma'am. All right. Anyone else?
One
Yes,
more
sir.
question,
Come on up.
one more question?
Yes, sir.
Legal?
Yes, absolutely, sir.
All right, Judge. The early solar electric panels use silicon in the PN layers, positive, negative layer. Now, they do use cadmium, which is a radioactive isotope. Two things. China owns 90% of all the rare earths in the world. Where are these collected made? I know the biggest manufacturers are in Asia. Are they made in America?
At the time of actual construction, the final panel selection will be made. But
We're the ones that we inspect the source. Domestic or international?
it's most likely, it could be here in the United States. It could also be international. Mexico also has a manufacturing setup.
Yeah.
So we will include that, as we go through the final site plan process, that will also, they'll ask for our specification sheets. And at this point, with all that's going on in the markets, the actual final source of the panels will be determined, but it could highly possible be US made panels.
That'd be interesting. We don't make much in this country anymore.
No, but there are.
We make
There are
Band-Aids.
some.
Did you know that?
Thank you, Mr. Durham. All right. Anyone else? Going once, twice? All right. Thank you all very much for coming out. I appreciate your taking the time out on this cold evening, and we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Thank you. We're off the record.